Hey guys, it's Sam back with another tutorial, and today we're going to be working on our portfolio builders assignment, our movie campaign. So this is going to be based on the movie poster that we created earlier in the semester. If I gave you any notes on updating or refining your poster, go ahead and do it before we start building these digital assets or all these other parts to the campaign, because we're going to be using that key art as a starting point to build each one of these different elements. So it's a 4-part project, and then each one involves different pieces. So first we're going to be building digital assets. So the first step will be to create a set of digital assets that will be used for digital streaming services such as Hulu, Netflix, Vudu, etc. Using the movie poster or the DVD sleeve file you created, we will be adapting the key art to digital assets. We're going to be creating a master set of assets. So each asset is a different size. So the challenge is turning your portrait or vertical poster composition into different layout sizes. The main art will be repurposed for several different aspect ratios. This is the tutorial, so we're going to be resizing, placing assets, moving things around with different elements depending on your poster. Everybody's is going to be a little bit different. So it's going to be up to you to figure out how you are going to rearrange the elements and make sure the art stays cohesive throughout the elements. So at the end, we're going to turn in a final PDF as well as a zipped file of your images. And I am going to be providing Photoshop and InDesign template files. Next, we're going to be building a IMDb video wall. So we're going to create a takeover for our movie on the IMDb landing page. So I'll show you what that looks like. This is a promotional piece that advertises your movie on IMDb's website. So next we will be creating a simple animated GIF using our 300 by 250 digital assets. We'll be creating a basic title treatment coming in, an element from your art moving, or something else appearing. So it's going to be a very simple animation. And lastly, we're going to use any of our elements, or the ones that actually fit, onto some mockups. So I'm going to provide you with some mockups. I'll provide a billboard mockup, DVD mockup, and bus shelter mockup. These items are essentially made already, but we will be using the mockups to take advantage of Smart Objects capabilities to place our files and have them appear in a real world environment. So this is going to bring your projects to life, and this is going to go on to your portfolio, which is coming up soon. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and show you the files that we are going to use. So I have them in this folder over here. So I'm just going to give you a lot of zip files. These are all going to be available on Schoology. So again, we have just going down this list, or going down the row of our projects here. We're going to have billboard, bus shelter mockups, and we have DVD case mockups. So all those mockups are part of this. We're going to have the digital assets, which is part of this. I'm also going to provide digital assets or web banner samples. So this is just so you have an idea. This is probably where we're going to start off with right now to show you what those are looking like. And I'm also going to have the IMDb video wall. So once you get these, just go ahead and unzip them, and we are going to place them in a folder. So to start off with, let me go into my working folder, and I'm going to create a new folder. And I'm going to go ahead and name it movie campaign or movie poster campaign. I'm just going to do movie campaign. So this is going to be our main folder that houses all of these projects. So once you download these, take these over here. I have them in a separate folder. So just pretend you downloaded these. So I'm going to copy these over. So once these downloaded from Schoology, you should have your movie campaign folder with all of these assets. So I'm going to go ahead and unzip all of them or expand all of them. It'll take a while. There's some pretty big files in there. Okay, so now let me double check everything. Yeah, 12. Okay, so let's just go through our digital assets. What digital assets are going to be like basically web banners, different sizes. So typically we're supposed to build masters from the very beginning of a project, especially on a movie campaign, and different businesses use them as well. So let me go ahead and show you some samples. So if I go to my digital asset samples folder, I'm going to preview this, and this is a preview for a like Audi banners. So notice, think of this as like your main poster. It's going to be vertical in nature, and then we are going to have different formats. So it's up to us to change elements around depending on how they are. So these vertical ones, notice how they all look similar. However, spacing, since this one is thinner than this one and taller, we're going to have a lot more negative space. So it's up to us to rearrange any words, any call to action, such as this book test drive. Then we have like this, looks like a 300 by 300, or at least proportionally it's a square. These are going to be very similar. You see how this one loses the Audi there. So different information can go. It's up to us. Notice how this one has the Audi like right behind the roof line here. And then we are going to do some horizontal banners as well. So notice how this one changes completely. So again, it's up to us to rearrange the elements. So I'm providing these as kind of like a basis of how we could rearrange elements. So here is a food web banner set. So we see this one's like a 1200 by 627. So that would be, let's say that was our main art, and then it's up to us to arrange the elements based on a 728 by 90. So usually any company that you're dealing with, they're going to tell you what they need, what sizes, and then it's, again, we are going to make all of our information here fit in one of these or in this format, so on and so forth. So there's several different ones that I provide, so check all of these out. Notice how right here it's kind of split down the middle for the square one, and this hiker is on the left hand side with the mountains, information on the right. And this taller one, if he was on the left, maybe we don't have that much sky or that much mountain on the bottom. So again, we're going to rearrange it in a different way. So this one has this main information on top, hiker on the bottom. This one works well based off of this. And this one, we don't want to cut off too much of them, the hiker. And we have a lot more space on the right. So again, we just rearrange all of our elements and so on and so forth. So feel free to check these out. And that way you guys have some idea of how to create these elements based off of your, or these digital assets based off of your vertical poster. So just to get an idea. So yeah, so we're starting off with that. Next, we're going to go into our digital assets folder. So this one, when you open it up, it's going to open up with this name. So Limon _ digital masters, digital assets masters folder. So that's going to be it. And this is going to be, we're going to be working with basically InDesign and Photoshop at the same time. So once I find this folder, I'm going to open up this digital masters InDesign file, double click on it. And these are going to be the sizes that we are going to build. So we're going to do a 2000 by 3000 vertical master. So that's going to be this one. If you notice, the proportions are pretty close to our 11 by 17 poster that we created. So that one's not going to require a whole lot of work. And then we're going to build a 300 by 300 square master. So this one has the 1:1. So this has the proportions as well. So that one is more square. So if we don't have a whole lot of information to the right or left hand side, it's up to us to figure it out. To build this, then we're going to build a 1920 by 1080 horizontal master. And we are going to build a 4320 by 1080 as well. So this one's a little bit thinner, height wise, and wider. And then we are going to deliver our title treatment, and this one is going to be a PNG, so we're going to have no background to this. So typically, companies will require you to build a set of what's called masters, which are common sizes like this, and then sometimes they have specific sizes that they need. So we are just doing a small set. In the real world, when you're doing this, you're going to be creating a master page, and then you might be given, a set of 100 different digital assets that you have to create. You're building a set for Voodoo, a set for Hulu, a set for Xbox, Verizon, whatnot. Some of them are going to be the same, so you just, place them there, maybe just change the name. However, sometimes they do have different sizes than the masters, and that's where you're going to actually be building them, not just copying files. So this is just the InDesign file, and let me go back to my folder, and I have the fonts here as well. So these are linked so that this works, and I'm going to have these links here. So I'm going to have a folder for JPEGs and a folder for Photoshop files. So these are all going to be our working files that are going to be going in here, but we're going to save them as JPEGs and then connect them to our InDesign file. So from the get-go, let's go ahead and save this file. So let's go File, Save As. And right now it has my last name, so go ahead and put your name in the beginning. So change it to whatever your name or last name is, and save it in the same place. It's fine. Mine already has my name, so I'm going to keep it as is. And then let me go into my Layers panel. And let's see. Okay, so I have nothing locked in there, so I'm going to zoom into the student name here and go ahead and put your name. So you could either double click, if you're on your selection tool, double click and it'll let you type, or you could simply click on your type tool, put your cursor in here, highlight this, and just put your name. It is right align text. So if we see here, if your name is longer than this, then you could just simply click on your selection tool and make this a little wider. It's just a text frame, and it should appear. And these are all image frames, so they're basically placeholders for our files. So let's go ahead and start off with the simple one. So we're gonna do our 2000 by 3000 vertical master. 2 to 3 is our proportions. So let's go ahead and go into our links folder, go into our PSD folder, and let's go ahead and open this a little. So this tells us right now they're all named movie title, and here are the sizes. So that's usually how our Photoshop files, notice how they're all PSDs, that's usually how they will be named. So I'm gonna rename them all. So here's a little trick. Right now we only have 5 files, but like I said, sometimes you're working with hundreds. So if you want to rename all of them, you could see how tedious that will be. In PCs, I'm not sure if there's a way. In Macs, I'll show you a quick way to rename these. So I'm gonna highlight all of these, right click, and then I could do rename. And I could change this to replace text. So we're gonna rename these files, and I'm gonna find, and I'm gonna type in movie underscore title. What this is doing is it's gonna find exactly the name that we have in here, and then we're gonna replace it with, and type in your movie name. So I'm gonna type in mine. So it's gonna be this. And make sure this is all caps and the underscore, because if you did under lowercase, it's not gonna find this, so it has to be exact. And then once you do rename, notice how it renames all of them with my title. Okay, another thing I'm gonna do is, after I name my files, I'm gonna go back into my folder. I'm gonna go back and look for my my movie poster within my working file. So I'm going to go into my movie poster, and I'm going to open up my Photoshop file for this. So again, you could either work off of your movie poster, or you could work off of your DVD case that you built. So I'm going to make a copy of this. So if I hold Option and drag it over here, or Alt and drag it, and you have a second copy. So now I'm going to go ahead and open this one, so my original movie poster, and I'm going to open up my 2000 by 3000 file as well. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is transferring all my layers from here onto here and rearranging any elements that I might need. So the first thing I want to do here is I want to go to my original movie poster, and I want to take kind of like a snapshot of my whole poster. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to select everything. So I'm going to do Command or Control A to just make a selection over our whole artboard. And then I'm going to go to Edit, Copy Merged. So this is going to copy everything that it sees, not just whatever layer we're on. So it's everything. And then I want to put my cursor right at the, or actually click on my topmost layer. In my case, it's going to be the rating. And then I'm going to go to Edit and Paste. So what this does is it gives me a single layer with everything merged. And I'm going to name this 11 by 17 poster. Press return, and now I'm going to right click it and I'm going to convert it to a smart object. And once it converts to a smart object, we'll see the little icon here. We're going to take this, drag it over to our 2000 by 3000 digital asset, and we're going to drop it in place. Now we're just going to use this as a template, kind of as a guide to show us where our file is going to land. So I'm going to do Command or Control T, and I'm going to resize it down to where it fits best. So I want to place it here. Maybe I could go a little bit smaller. So I want to take up all the space that I can, and maybe some of it's going to get trimmed off. So let me actually zoom out a little, and I could actually resize it here. So notice how it starts looking very close to the size that proportion wise it's very close to our poster. If anything, we are going to lose, you know, a couple pixels on the right, a little bit on the top and bottom, the left as well. So what I want to do is get it as close as possible. Zoom in, make sure you do not lose a little bit right here. So we want to get it again as close as possible here. And I'm going to call that good. So I'm going to do Command or Control 0. And for me, it is about 59.5%. It's actually 59.49. Make sure you do not scale it this way to where we have different width and height percentages. Let me undo that. Make sure your percentages stay the same. Sometimes it might be off by 1 or 2. Like this one might be like 59.4 and this one might be 59.3. That's totally fine. But when you're dealing with minor numbers like that, but if you're, you know, a lot off, then that means you're skewing your art, and it's not going to be proportionate. So once we're happy with the size there, we're going to press return or enter, and notice how this looks pretty much like our poster. So we're going to use this as a guide. So what we are going to do here is we're going to go into our file here, and we're going to bring in everything. Actually, let's go back to our 2000 by 3000, and let me change the transparency or the opacity of this to about 50%. So I'm going to change it to 50. Press return. Let's just keep in mind our 59.49%, whatever percent you took. And I'm going to go whatever percent you shrunk this art by. Now I want to go into my poster, and I want to select all the layers that make up this poster. So I do not need this by 11 by 17 because we already have it in the 2000 by 3000. But I'm going to select from here, scroll all the way down, hold shift, and I'm going to select my background, but I technically don't need it because that's just a white layer. We could see I'm not going to need my sketch, so that one doesn't matter. But just to make it easy, I'm going to select everything. And I'm going to go ahead and drag all of this over to my 2000 by 3000 and go into the middle of it and just drop it in there. So now I have all my files here since I was clicked on my 11 by 17 poster template. It placed everything on top. So now what I want to do is I want to create a folder to put all of these files in, all of these layers. So I'm going to group them by clicking on the little folder icon at the bottom of the layers panel, and that gives me a group. So I'm just going to double click on that and I'm going to name it arts, press return, and I'm going to move art below the 11 by 17 poster. Whatever you do, just make sure that 11 by 17 poster does not go into that folder. So now we have it separate. So now in the art folder, I could do Command or Control T. And let's remember our size that we did on this 11 by 17 poster. I forgot real quick, but I could just press return to cancel that. And this is the beauty about making a smart object. If I select the 11 by 17, do Command or Control T, this saves our percentage here. So we have 59.49%. Press return. Now I'm going to select my art and do Command or Control T. And I'm going to type it in here, 59.49. Since I had clicked on this, or I didn't click on it, but it was already selected, this link, it gives us the same percentage on both sides. If you didn't have it linked, you just have to go in and type it on the other side. Okay, so now I'm going to hit the check mark. So now these are both resized exactly the same. And I'm just going to give it a while. I have my progress bar on my other screen, so let me drag it in. So it's going to take a little bit. This file is quite large. Okay, so once it's ready, again, I'm going to keep my art folder selected, and I'm just going to move it around to match my 11 by 17 poster templates. And I'm going to zoom in. And once I get pretty close, I'm just going to use my right or left arrow keys, or down or up. And I'm going to line it up to where everything looks sharp. So right there, everything looks sharp. If I move it to the right a couple times, it looks blurry. Go left. And the way to really check this is zoom in. Because if I'm like too far away, you could see where it starts looking blurry. So I want to match both images exactly the same. If you're off by a little, it's okay. But we just want to go where our image is the sharpest. And that just means we aligned it exactly right with our other poster, or with our template here. So now what I could do is I could turn off the 11 by 17 poster. And since this is a digital asset, I do not need my that the rating here. So if you have any ratings, or if you have any building blocks, then we could simply just go in here and turn those off or delete them. So I'm going to scroll down. Actually, this one was on the very top, I believe. Yeah, so I could turn off my rating. And there you go. This one is very simple because the size is the same. And we have all of our layers here. So now I'm just going to save it, Command or Control S. And so now we have our file here in our PSDs. What we want to do is save it as a JPEG, and we're going to put it into this JPEG folder. So we're going to go to File. This time we're going to go for Save for Web. So we're going to go to Exports and then Save for Web or Legacy. Click on that. And then we're going to go ahead and save this as, we're going to keep these presets. So we're going to make sure it's a JPEG, high compression, so quality 60. And this tells us our original file. If we're clicked on 2 up, because we have 2 files, this shows us our original PSD, and the size is 22.9 megabytes. And the JPEG that it's going to create, it's at 60, a quality of 60 out of 100. It's going to be 1.36, basically 1.37 megabytes. So that's a big difference. And this tells us how long it will take to load based off of the speed of a connection. So the smaller you make it, the faster it'll load, but it's going to lose quality. And what this 2up does is it shows us the difference. So at this point, we could see that the difference is very minimal. So if I go to low, you can see how it starts looking a little bad. It starts looking a little blurry. We start losing it. The JPEG gets really small, and this will technically be faster to load. So we're trying to do a fine balance between highest quality possible, but sometimes a company will give us size limitations. So you just have to make sure you stay underneath them. So I'm gonna probably do high and see how high still does not look too bad. So that's where we had it. We could go to medium, and medium would probably work too, but that's kind of where we start losing it. So I'm gonna go with high. Obviously, if you go with maximum, you're gonna get the highest quality, but it turns it into a 5 megabyte file. And usually, like I said, you have limits, so that just depends on the limit that they give you. For our project, we're not really worried about it, so let's just go to high. And we'll save all of this. All of this, we'll just keep the settings and click on save. And we are going to have to navigate to our folder. So I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to go to my San Limon folder. I'm going to look for my PBA. So Portfolio Builders Assignments. Oh, I didn't name it that. I just named it Movie Campaign. That's fine. So I'm going to go to Movie Campaign. Limon Digital Assets Master Folder. So that's what you're going to have. Go to your links. And go to your JPEG, and then we are going to save it in there. So now we have one asset done. So I could go ahead and close this one, the 2000 by 3000. And I could see right here in my JPEG folder, I have this. So now let me go into my InDesign file. So let's go back to InDesign. Now we're going to go ahead and link this. So let's click on our 2000 by 3000 and let's go to File, Place. And then let's go to our, now we have to navigate again to find these files. So let's go to our movie poster campaign, or movie campaign, Limon Digital Assets folder. Let's go to that Limon Digital, links. We're going to go into our JPEG and we're going to select the JPEG. So the reason why we're going to do this is because we don't want that super huge Photoshop file linked to it. So we want to link the JPEG. And we are going to go ahead and open it. So now it places it really huge. So what I want to do is I want to right click it. And then I'm going to go to fitting. And I want to go to fit content to frame, because we want the frame to stay the same, but we want the content to fit to it. If we were to do fitting and then frame to content, that means the content's going to stay the same and the frame is going to go super huge, the size of this image. So let's go to fitting and then content to the frame. And there we go. So that's our first digital asset. And that's our 2000 by 3000. And essentially when you turn these into a company, you're going to be providing the JPEGs. If they, for whatever reason, need the Photoshop files, then you provide those as well. So that's one of them. So let's go ahead and do our 3000 by 3000 now. So let's go ahead and go to our links folder, PSD. Let's open up our 3000 by 3000. Double click that one. Now on this one, some files are going to have a safe area. So this one means no important information goes past this. For whatever reason, it could get cut off depending on where this is going. If it's going on Hulu, Netflix, whatever it might be somewhere where it runs into something, or there's a gradient, it gets dark, so we don't want any faces or titles past this guide. And then one thing we could do to center something as well is we could do Command or Control A on this to select everything. Now if we click on our left ruler and drag to the right, we could create a guide that's going to land on the center. If we do not have our rulers, just remember Command or Control R. That toggles rulers off and on. Now I'm going to click on the left ruler and drag to the right. And I'm going to go, and right at about 5, it's going to snap into place. So 5 inches right there. And just let it go. So now we have a guide at 5. Remember, this is a 3000 by 3000, so it's a perfect square. So I'm going to click on the top ruler and drag down. Go down to the 5 as well. And there we go. We have some nice guides there to show our center. So let's go into our movie poster original file as well. Let's drag in our 11 by 17 poster. Drag this in here and place it here. So now I'm going to do Command or Control T. Actually, before I do that, I need to do Command or Control D to deselect. We still see our marching ants here, so Command D. Now we could do Command or Control T to transform this file or this image. So now I'm going to drag it down, and I see the center here, so I'm going to drag it down to where it's centered, and I can see the pink guides land on the guides that I just created. So that means it is perfectly centered. So now I'm going to zoom out, and if I hold Option or Alt and Shift, and I click on a corner, actually this depends on what version you have. If I hold Option and drag on the corner, it is going to resize it based right off of the center, instead of, you know, doing it this way where it finds the anchor at this corner. If I hold Option or Alt, it's going to do it at the center. If you notice that it starts doing this, to where you're doing something like this, you might have to hold Shift and then do it. If not, then it's simply just holding Option or Alt. So now we have a problem here. If we resize it like that to where our image just goes up to this edge and up to this edge, we're losing a lot of information at the top and a lot of information at the bottom. So that means we would have to rearrange the elements, bring the plane down, bring these guys up, any of this information up. If I resize it to this size, to where I have missing information on the right or left, then I have to recreate this information. So it's up to you what you do. I'm gonna do this because this looks more true to the poster. You could do like a happy medium here, and then we could bring these elements down, bring these up, and rebuild some of this area. So this is where the challenge lies, because sometimes you receive a file like this, exactly like this, and it's up to you to create the rest of the space. So I'm going to make it the challenging way and do this. Press Return or Enter. And again, I'm just using that as a guide. I want my safe area to be up on top. And just keep in mind, turn this off before you save your JPEG. So now I'm going to change the opacity of my poster, and I'm just going to click on the number 5. So that changes my opacity to 50%. And let me do Command or Control T again on that 11 by 17 poster file. So now I see I'm at 58.65%. So press Return. So I'll just remember that number for when I bring everything else. 58.65. So now I'm going to go in here and to my original poster, same thing. Select from my rating here, hold Shift, and select the very bottom layer. And I'm going to bring these in over to my 3000 by 3000. Drag in here. And I'm going to make a group out of them just to manipulate these a little easier. So press on the group 1, and I'm going to rename this Arts. Press Return. I'm going to bring it below the poster. So now I'm going to click on my poster again because I forgot my percentages. And I could always just highlight and copy this. Command C to copy my 58.65%. I could either hit the check mark or cancel that because we don't want to change it. We were just trying to get the number. So now we click on our arts file, Command or Control T to transform it. And now I could highlight either the width or the height here as long as this is selected. That way these numbers are linked. So I could highlight this one, the width, Command V. So it's 58.65%. Press Return or Enter. and hit the check mark. Okay, so now we could zoom in and we could, with our selection tool, make sure we have our arts selected. Now we could drag it around. If we are lucky, depending on how this file was built, we'll have enough. Sometimes we are, sometimes we are not. So we will find out. So let me zoom in. And again, let's match this to what we have. Once you get close, you could zoom in and press your right or left arrow keys. And we could see which way we need to go. We need to go left. Once it becomes sharp, that's where it's exactly where our poster template is. You could zoom out, and now I could turn off my 11 by 17 poster. So now I see I have some issues here. So this is where the challenge lies, where I could open up my art file and I'm gonna start seeing what needs to be tweaked, because technically my movie poster was here and now I have all this extra space. So this just depends on how your file was built. You could always do something simple, like this will be the simplest thing you could do. So I'm going to make a new layer on top, make a new blank layer. I could select my gradient tool and I could click on basics up here, and I could go click on the one that goes from white to transparent. We could tell it's transparent because it goes to check marks. So select that one, and now if we press D, it'll go from black to transparent. If you only had black to transparent, that's fine, choose that one. And now in that layer we could just click to draw a gradient in here. And what we want to make sure is we do not have any lines here. So I could drag it like that, and then we could drag this like that. So you could technically do something like this. Let's say you do not want the black. Let's say we want it to be a different color. Now what I could do is I could double click on this and then do a color overlay. Click on this, and then I'm going to sample a color from my poster. So I'm going to do this blue, like blue greenish, and let me push it up to like the blues. Or we could do an orange. Let's try an orange, maybe something like that, and click OK. And there we go. Now we would turn this off, and now we could turn off our rating, and that could be our digital asset. So let me go ahead and save it. So Command or Control S to save it, and then we could save it for web. So it would be Command Shift Option or Alt and S, and that saves it for web. Or we could do File, Export, and Save for web. So here we have the shortcut. It's Command or Control, Shift, Command or Control, and this is Option or Alt and Save. Click on that, and I'm going to go ahead and just leave these settings the same. So JPEG high 60. If you want to double check it, click on it, make sure it looks good, click on Save, and we're going to put it in our same folder. So since we just did our previous one, we're in the same place in our JPEG folder. If not, we're going to have to find our digital assets folder, links, put this one in the JPEG, save it, and let's go ahead and go to our InDesign file. Now I want to select this one, and we want to place our 3000 by 3000. So the shortcut for that, we could do File Place, or we could do Command or Control D. So Command or Control D, and let's place our 3000 by 3000. Open it up, and again right click it, go to Fitting, and then fit frame. Content to frame, and there we have that asset. So now since we introduced that yellow or that orange, then we're going to have to use that on other ones just to make it cohesive. So that's the quick way. let me show you the way that works. That we're going to try to make it look better. However, it's going to be a little bit harder. So let me go ahead and delete this layer. I'm going back into my 3000 by 3000 and I'm going to work with what I have here. So I'm going to look at this color fill that I did. So this affected only certain parts. So already I could tell if I turn this off, it applies that filter to everything. So that starts looking a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is if I look at my mask, and if I hold Option or Alt and click on the mask, I could see where it's affecting. So in here, and some places it is not. And I have some hard lines here. So I'm going to have to take care of those. So what I want to do is with my brush, I could select my brush and I could select white. I'm going to make my brush a little bit bigger. And I'm going to just brush in here. Let me Command Z a couple times. Let me go back, hold Option. Okay, so I want to just brush this area out because I want to get rid of that line here. And maybe right here I'll brush it as well, but I'm gonna tone down my opacity because I don't want to make it harsh. So I could do that, something like that. I want to make sure my hardness is at 0. That's one thing that I wasn't mindful of. Right here. Now I want to switch it to black, and I want to brush here. Since this does have a very hard line, I could go to 100% on my opacity and just brush this here, brush it all the way. And then I could choose about 50%, change it to white, and whoops, undo that, change it to white, because I want to just start trying to blend out my the hard lines right there. So what this is doing is it's showing that color here. And I could hold Option here, and I could start just brushing and do that. Now that I'm seeing it here, I could switch this to black. So I could start hiding out different areas with this color adjustment. So it's an overlay blue, so it's making it yellow. So we want to make it yellow. So we could lower the opacity and start brushing. Make sure I'm on my layer mask. So if I start brushing here, it starts adding that yellow over here. I start adding it over here. So at least that layer, it's affecting everything. So it starts looking pretty good. I do have this harsh line over here. So maybe I want to work on it a little bit more here. And let's see what else I have. So I'm going to look at this layer. That looks pretty good. Essentially now I'm just looking for those harsh lines and see what is causing that. So if I see this fire, my previous mask, I wasn't worried about over here because this fell outside of my poster size. Remember, my poster was this. So let me make this 100%. So this was my poster, so that's why over here didn't matter because I wasn't even seeing it. But that all lands outside of it. So let me zoom in now. Let me find that fire layer which has that unmasked, which was this one. So now I could click on my adjustment layer, or sorry, on my mask. And let me go to 100% and with black because I want to hide that edge. So there we go. So that was it. And then if I want to blend it a little bit more, I could go down to like 50, 40 or something and just brush it a little bit more. Maybe make my brush a little bit bigger. And brush that down. And then I see like I have a hard line here. So I want you guys to zoom in, make sure this all looks good if you decide to do it this way. And I'm just going to blend this out here. So maybe something like that. I'm going to zoom out. And then I see I have another fire layer here. So I notice I have others that are right here, other edges. So I have this shading here. So one thing that I could do is create a mask here on this one, since I do have a hard line there. And again, I could start brushing away this line. So I am on my brush, opacity 42 and black. So now I just got rid of that line. And just go down the list, or go down and try to find each one of these where we see like a hard line that doesn't belong. So let's see this ground layer. That all looks good. However, on this one, since it ends right there, I need a continuation of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this layer and I'm going to just use that to fill in this area on the right. So I'm going to drag this to make a new layer out of it. And I'm going to go ahead and move this one behind. Click on my selection tool and drag it to the right. And I mean, technically I could do that, but then I could see these two areas look exactly the same. So I can move it to the right somewhere where it kind of matches here, and somewhere where we don't see this exactly the same. So maybe something like that. And since we're only using this space here, I'm gonna click on my selection tool here, and I'm gonna click and drag just this much of the of that shape. We know we're only using this much, and then I'm gonna click to create a layer mask on it. So that erases everything but that little area. So now I could click on this and click on my brush tool, and I'm looking at like the fine details. I still see some of the mountain over here. So with my black brush tool, go to 100%, and I'm going to make this a little smaller, and I'm just going to brush away at this. Now I see I still have a harsh line here, so that's going to be my top ground. So now I could add a mask on there, and I could get like a 40% opacity, and I just want to brush on this edge, maybe make my brush a little bit bigger, just to start getting rid of that line here and make it blend a little bit better. So that's one way to do that. So now notice how I'm like slowly starting to build up this whole area. So let's see what else we have. We're gonna have some missing sky over here. We have this line, and we have this line over here. So let's just find all of our problem areas. Let's see this shading. So that line is from part of the shading. So one thing I could do here is select this and then add a layer mask to it. And I could start brushing away again with black and about 40%. You know, I can start just brushing this line away, and then brush this line away as well. And there we go, that starts looking a little more natural. And let's turn my sky off and on so that I have that part, and then sky with clouds. And on this one, we're missing just a little sliver here, so I'm going to do the same thing, the sky with cloud. I'm going to drag this to make a new to make a copy of it, drag it below our original. So our copy should be below, and then click on our move tool, and I'm going to move it to the right. And again, that's going to fill that space in. So now I want to make a mask on this top one to get rid of the line, because this top one was in its original spot. I want to try to not move anything, try to keep it as intact as it is and just build out the sides. I don't want to, you know, the simple thing would have been to just move this to the right. However, now we're changing our art completely, so we want to avoid that. Again, that's the easy way, but a client would see that and they'll be like, well, that's not my original art, depending on the background, because what if there was a moon here and now it's over here, so now it's not going to match. So you want everything to match as much, and then just the extras coming in. So that's why we build this copy, because we want to extend that without moving it. So now I'm going to click on my sky with clouds here, add a layer mask, and select my brush tool. And again, something about 40%. If you do 100, you know, it's just going to get rid of that line a lot faster. But I'll just start clicking and dragging slowly. And I think there we have it. So actually I have another little area here. So let me look for that. So that looks like it might be part of the fire as well. Looks like some shading actually. Let me try to find out where that one is. So this is all the title, so don't have to worry about that one. Okay, so this is tank shadow. So I'm going to zoom in, and since my poster ended right here and we didn't see any of this, now it looks a little funny there. So I'm going to add a layer mask to my tank shadow and do the same thing with the black brush. Brush this part away. And now I'm going to go ahead and copy that tank shadow layer. Copy it. Bring it below. And I'm going to actually delete the layer mask. Now I'm going to move this tank shadow. Click on my move tool, move it to the left. And then I could add a layer mask. And then click on my brush tool, brush out this corner here, at the edge. And now I could click on the actual tank shadow layer. Click on my brush tool, make sure I have black. And let me make the opacity a lot smaller, a lot lower. Maybe 5%. So this is where everybody's is going to be a little different, you know, depending on how you built it. I'm going to do this. And I don't know, maybe I want, let me see how my original poster looked. See, I didn't have any fire over here, so maybe I'm going to remove the fire from the bottom side, so I could always do that. So that's this layer here. So I'm going to click on the mask, and I'm going to change my opacity back up to 100%. And I'm going to start brushing away at the fire that is down here. And that starts making a little bit more sense. And let me take over this this shadow for the tank, and let me drop its opacity, because maybe I did a little bit too much because I was fighting against that fire. So something like that starts looking somewhat more natural. And it still probably needs a little bit of work, but for the purposes of this demonstration, I think that's starting to look pretty good. And now if I do Command or Control 0, so I'm going to say that looks good now. Zoom out a little bit. So notice how that looks better than the simple way where I did that gradient. So now I could save it. Command or Control S. I'm happy with this. And now I'm going to do the Command or Control Shift Option or Alt and S. So hold all of those 4 buttons together so we could save it for web. And then I'm just going to save it. And I'm not going to change anything, so I'm going to save over my original 3000 by 3000. So click Save. And I'm going to replace it. And click Replace again. Save that. And I'm going to go into my InDesign file. So now, since it's the same file, I should have this little warning here. So it tells me it's modified. So if I just click on that warning, now it updates my digital asset, and I have my second asset. So again, just, you know, take your time, spend the time to make it look good. Make sure you have all this. If you make sure you have edges. If you do not, you have all the files or all your layers where you could start making copies of them, cloning, and just make it all up, right? So that's part of our job. So you could see where we're going to have some problems also if we do one of these very horizontal ones, because as it is, we were creating this art over here. The left part of this and the right part of this, we did not have enough. So that's part of the challenge. So on the next one, I'm going to go ahead and do a more horizontal one. So this one. And instead of starting from the scratch from this, since this one already has more art to it, I'm just going to simply use this one as my starting point now instead of the poster. So I'm going to go to my Photoshop, and I could actually close this down now. The poster, I'm not going to use it anymore. So you could always open it up. I do not want to save my poster just in case I moved anything around here. So this one's going to stay intact. So close it, don't save. And I'm going to use my 3000 by 3000 as a starting point. So I'm going to save it, make sure it's saved. From here on out, any changes that I make here, I do not want to save over it. So in case you ever have to close this down, do not save it. Because this is our last save and this is how our JPEG is looking. So let's go ahead and go to our Finder. Let me actually go into InDesign first. So now let's do our 4320 by 1080. So let's go to our Finder and open up our 4320 by 1080. Okay, so now this tells us, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and do my center guides. So I'm going to do Command or Control A and drag from the left ruler, drag to the right, and somewhere at about just past 7 inches, that's going to be our center point, so 7.2. And I'm going to drag down, and this one's going to be at 1.8, so that's our center point. And then I'm going to deselect, so Command or Control D, and we could see our title and talent safe area. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into my 3000 by 3000 file. Now I'm going to create a template based off of this. So again, go ahead and select on your 11 by 17 poster file that is off, and we're going to click on Command or Control A to select this whole image. Going to go to Edit, Copy Merged. Make sure it's not copy merged, and then go to Edit, and then paste. And now we have this this layer which shows everything in one layer. So now let me go ahead and double click it and change the name. I'm going to name this 3000 by 3000. So I know what it's referencing. Press Return or Enter. And I'm going to right click and convert it into a smart object. And now I'm going to drag this to 3000 by 3000. Make sure I named it right, not 3000 by 300. And I'm going to drag this over to my 4320 by 1080. I'm going to place it in here. And I'm going to go to my 3000 by 3000, and now I'm going to turn off my 3000 by 3000 here. So just click on the little eye, because we do notice that it changes somewhat. Okay, so now what I want to do is do Command or Control T on my 3000 by 3, actually on my 4320 by 1080. I'm going to click on my 3000 by 3000 layer, Command or Control T, and I'm just going to drag it to center it. Make sure these are linked, and I'm going to click on the W and drag it to make it smaller. So somewhere around there. Press Return or Enter. And this is where it's going to be up to us, you know, our choices. So I could do something like that and keep blending out, but that's a lot to blend out, you know. It's not like before where we just had a little bit. Right here we have a lot, so that's probably not going to be my best bet. Also, my title is going to be really small. So maybe I am going to stray from this actually. So this is just a This is just going to be a matter of choice for your art. So I'm going to do Command T again, hold Alt and drag this up. So maybe I want my title about that big. And I'm going to have to rearrange my elements. So I'm going to leave that at about, let me just do 75%. Press return or enter. And I'm going to figure this out. So I could start thinking about, I have my plane, so I could have my plane coming in from the left. I have my title, so I could have the title over here. Maybe I could have these guys somewhere in this position and the tank, and then I could build out the right area here. So maybe I'll do something like that. And again, everybody is going to be different. This is going to be totally up to you. This is where the challenge comes in. So from here, I'm going to lower the opacity on this to 50%. So I could drag it, or I could just press 5. Doesn't have to be exact, especially since I'm going to be moving all my elements around. So I'm going to go into my 3000 by 3000, and I'm just going to go ahead and drag my whole art folder in over here, and from my 3000 by 3000 into my 4320 by 1080. Drop it in there, and I'm going to drag it underneath both of these layers, so my safe area as well as my 3000 by 3000 template. I'm going to do Command or Control T, and I'm going to resize it down to 75%. And I mean, I could match it here, but technically there's no need to. I'm going to press return or enter. And now I could go ahead and turn off my 3000 by 3000. So now comes the fun part. So now I have to figure out what I'm going to do with all my elements here. I could always go back and reference this. So I think I want my title along with the with this parachuter, because I'm going to consider that part of it, part of the title. So I'm going to move those together, maybe to the left hand side here. I'm going to open up my art folder. I'm going to look for my parachutist, and I'm going to look for my all my title stuff. So all of these are tied into my title. So at this point I could actually hold shift from this top hue layer that works with my type. Hold shift and select my type, and I'm going to add a group. So I'm going to create a group here, and I'm just going to name this title. So I should have done that before, but it's fine. It works like this. And I'm going to hold Command to select my parachutist as well. Click on my move tool, and I'm going to move that down. So I think somewhere back here. And if I see it's starting to get cut off by the by the mountain here, so maybe I want to drag these up above the mountain, or actually my title could go up above here. There we go. So that looks pretty good. Let me look for my plane. That's another one that I need. So actually, I'm going to move my title and my parachutist up. And it's just a matter of placing all the elements. So just keep in mind, any important information does not go past this line. So the plane's not going to be super important, the tank as well. So let me move the plane first. Let me look for that, drag it down. Maybe that goes right here. And it could get cut off. And again, so sometimes they just give us a certain safety due to like blends or wherever it's going to go. Things that might get cut off, so that's why something important, you don't want to put it past there. This back part of this plane shouldn't be super important, so if it goes, it's okay. And let me go ahead and move these guys up a bit. Look for them. So they're right here. Maybe I do want them cut up, cut at the bottom a little bit. I'm gonna move this up here. I'm gonna select this, move it up a little bit. Maybe actually I want my title and this guy to go to the right. Maybe that'll work better. So it's a matter of moving elements around. So let's select this and the title. And maybe I want to put these above that fire. So let's drag them up here. Yeah, so something like that. Whoops, maybe move these guys over here. I like this where that's at. And now my plane could come in a little bit more over here. Okay, so there we go. So now I have that. So now it would be a matter of, editing all of these layers as well and building up the background. This is again another one where we could just fade it to black from one end. So let's say we do something like that. So we could always do something like that as well. Let me look at this. Let me actually build out the sky first. So since all of this is going to be built, we don't want to move this area, but we do want to move this extra sky here. So let me select that one and move it to the right here. So that gives us a nice blend there. And let's make a copy of it because this is the same copy as this one. So I'm going to make a copy of it. Drag this one below. And then I want to drag this one to the left. So maybe something like this. And now I could add a, select the top one here, which is our main center one. And I'm going to click on the layer mask, get my brush tool. So I'm simply just going to brush along here with that 100% just to get rid of that hard edge. And then I'm going to drop down the opacity, make my brush a little bit bigger and just kind of blend it out here. That way it looks a little more natural. So there we go. We have our sky. Then I have to look at any of these other adjustment layers that I created. So there's this one. And I apologize for that helicopter in the background. So I could turn this on, and now if I hold Option or Alt, I could see that I still have, now I have those hard lines from the previous one, from the 3000 by 3000. So I could slowly start just brushing these away. Let me actually brush it away with white first to show here. Let me go up to 100%. So I'm working just in my mask mode here. And then brush this out a little bit. This is just to get rid of that hard line. I should have done a better job here. I could always come back and do something like that. And then I could slowly start brushing it in with black and a very low opacity. Maybe about 10-ish or so. Hold Command or Alt and then click on my mask. And now I'm just gonna, fill this in slightly, just to kind of like color match everything. And the same thing over here. So something like this. And now let me actually make a copy of my, let's see how this looks. Yeah, we could always push it a little bit further along here. And let me make a copy of my background as well if I want to expand the mountains and either the fire or, just kind of that backdrop all the way, because we already did our sky. So let's go ahead and look at our mountain. I could, at this point, I only have this sliver here, so I could delete the mask on this one. And let me just move it. Let me click on my move tool and move this to the right over here. And I could kind of match something here. Maybe maybe something like that. And let me zoom in. Again, be sure to zoom in. See, I had missed this little edge here. And this all looks pretty good. So maybe something like this. And I want to bring that over to the left hand side as well. So I'm going to make a copy of this background. And I am going to drag that one to the left. And so maybe on this one I could, it ends here at the tree. So it's going to be a little bit weird if I don't have another part of the tree. So what I could do, this is just a test, I could do Command T or Control T, right click, and then I'm going to go down and flip horizontal. So I get the edge of the tree somewhere over here. So maybe I could do something like that if it doesn't look too fake. It might possibly look a little too what's it called? Symmetrical. Luckily it doesn't, because we have the fire over here, so that kind of covers this, so we have no way to tell what is over here. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and leave that as is. And let me see. So I see this little sliver up here, so that looks a little funny. So I'm gonna go up to this part of the tree, and I'm gonna select the mask. If I don't have it, I'll just create a mask, and I could get my brush with black, and I'm going to choose 100% opacity. Make my brush really small now, because I just want to get rid of kind of this edge that I could see here, and try to make that tree look a little more even without that hard line. So I'll take this all the way down, and there we go. That's starting to look a little more natural. And since I have that fire here, maybe I want to continue some of that fire. That way it covers this area up. So let me find this fire area. And I could see again, I have a hard line there. So I want to mask that one off. So click on the mask, select my brush. Make it bigger here. I'm at 100% opacity, and I'll just cover that. And then I could always make a copy of this and then move it over. And I don't want it to just be, a direct copy, so maybe I'll transform it or do something different. So Command T, flip horizontal, let me zoom out. Maybe I want to scale it down a little bit. Maybe I want to hold Shift and just make it go this way, maybe something like this. And then maybe I want to make a copy of this as well. So drag it down, make a copy, and then bring that one to the right just to fill in this area. Command or Control T, then make it bigger. So maybe something like that. And there we go. Starts looking a little more even. And yeah, again, it's not the best, but I'm creating all this over here. And then on this one, one thing I could do is just to make it look a little smoother over here. I could do that gradient, for example, that we did before. So I could go up to the very top, and I could add that layer. So I could do just a blank layer, and I could click on the gradient. And if I have that black to transparent, I could drag that slightly from left to right, and I could change this to multiply, and I could drop down the opacity. And then I could do the same thing on the right hand side, so coming in from the right to the left, do something similar. And there we go. So there is my very horizontal 4320 by 1080 digital asset. Now I could go ahead and turn off my safe area guides here. Maybe I want to move the title a little bit to the left. I feel like I have a lot of space here. So let's try to fill that in. And also I'm going to bring the plane over to the right a little bit. So maybe something like that. And the title. You look for the title and this. Maybe I want to bring it down somewhere like that. Maybe these guys could move down. So I'm going to select them. And maybe it's okay if they go over the title because we have this guy coming over the title, so that's kind of part of it. So I'm going to move this guy coming down a little. So maybe right here it does change. And let's see, I remember I did have this as well. So this hard line, I want to find out where that is. So that's going to be part of the sky. So it's looks like it's this one. So I'm going to click on the mask as well. Select my brush tool with black, and I'm going to take it down to about 50% opacity and make my brush size smaller and just start blending that out. Just start clicking on that. So be mindful of any of those hard lines. So I see one here. I don't know what that one's from. Very minor, but there it is. So we want to again take care of all of that. I'm just going to turn sky layers, or it might be part of the background layer. It could also be part of the fire on the right hand side. And I could turn off several of them at the same time. I still see it there, so it's none of these. None of these, so it's going to be the sketch could be off. I think it might be that. Okay, so here it is. It's part of that shading, so it's going to be this one, and I could just brush that with black, get rid of that hard line, and there we go. So there is another asset. Everything looks pretty good. Zoom out, and there we go. It's cohesive with everything else, and we have all of our main elements within that area, and then the rest is just extra that I'm filling up. And let me go ahead and save it, and then Command or Control, Shift, Alt or Option, and S, and we'll save it as a JPEG again. JPEG high quality 60. Let's go ahead and save it. Put it in our same file, so it's the 4320 by 1080 in our same folder, the JPEG folder. Save it. And let's go ahead and go over to our InDesign. Select our 4320 by 1080, and then go to Command or Control D to place. And let's choose our 4320 by 1080. Go ahead and open it. Right click it, and then go to fitting, and then we're going to fit the content to the frame. And there we go. There is our horizontal asset. Now that I'm looking at it, I don't like this right dark gradient. The one on the left I feel works pretty good. The one on the right hand side doesn't, and I think I also want to bring in the darker sky from over here. So I could always go back and edit it a little bit. I'm going to go into this top layer, which has actually both gradients here, and I'm going to click on my eraser tool, so E, make sure it's brush 100%, and I'm going to make the size big. And I'm going to go ahead and erase this. And actually the right side of the sky, let me go in and see where what I have there. And you know what, actually what I think is throwing me off is the flames right here. So maybe that's a little too much. So let's see, let's find that. Yeah, it's that part of the flame. So let me compare that here. So I mean, it starts going into the yellow here, so it's there, but I feel like it's a little too much here. So I'm gonna click on the layer mask, and then maybe choose a like a 10% brush with black. So I want to start hiding this. I'm actually on my eraser tool, so I want to make sure I'm on my brush tool. And again, 10%. So always remember what tool you're on. It always happens, you forget which tool you're on. And you start clicking and nothing happens. So, okay, so now let me go ahead and just to tone this fire down a little bit. And let me move the sky from that right hand side a little bit. So let me select it. And maybe I like that a little bit better. Okay, so I think I'm liking that a little bit better than what was there before. So let me save it, Command or Control S, and let's go File, Export, Save for Web. Let's go ahead and save it, and we're going to replace the one that was already there. And let's go back into InDesign and let's update this. So let me click on the little warning, and there we go. So I think that works a lot better. And now that I'm looking at it, the title here, it's a little bit darker, most of this area here. So I think I want to make it a little bit darker so that it pops a little bit more. So that might be another edit that I could go in and do. So I could go in and maybe make a copy of that sky as well. So maybe this one. I'm going to make a copy of it. I'm going to lose the layer mask on that, and I'm going to move it to where I have dark area behind the some dark area behind the title, and then I'm going to click on, whoops, undo that. I'm going to add a layer mask, then I'm going to do Command or Control I to inverse it. Now I'm slowly going to just brush in, so click on my brush, click on make it white, and then slowly I'm going to build up some of that darkness. So I'm going to maybe go up to about 20%. And all these numbers when I'm mentioning, 10%, 20%, is just something that I've tried out. But feel free to, mess with those settings. If you want to brush back a lot, then it's going to be closer to 100. If you're going to brush a little bit, then, you're going to have lower percentages. And I just want to brush to start showing some of this darkness behind the title. And it's just going to make it pop a little bit more. And I could turn this off and on so we could see our before and after. So I feel like something like that looks pretty good. And let's go ahead and save it again. So Command Save, Command S or Control S, and then Command or Control Shift, Option or Alt, and S at the same time to save it for web. And then go ahead and click Save and save again. We're going to replace our previous file, and let's go into our InDesign document and refresh this. So now we go that, darken that up. We see our title a little bit better. And I'm going to call that one good. There we go. I'm only going to do these three. These two pretty much should be straightforward. So you could technically take a like that, not the screenshot, but the merge file of this 4320 by 1080 and use it for this one, and then bring in your files, resize them. On this one, the same thing. You could use this one, or you could use this, a mixture of, bring this one in there and then build out the sides as well. So it's up to you how you manage these two. But there it is, going from vertical to a square to a completely horizontal one. You're just going to have to mess with your layers. Everybody's, again, is going to be different. Okay, and then so after that, you pretty much just, save this once you are done. So save it. Once you have all your files here, I want you to go to File, Exports. And then we are going to choose Adobe PDF Print. Go ahead and save it. We'll go ahead and go through our settings. General, we're Make sure PDF view PDF after exporting is checked, so that way our PDF pops up once we save it. Compression, don't mess with anything here. Marks and bleeds, make sure nothing is checked. Everything else we could leave as is and go ahead and export it, and then our PDF should pop up. So this is going to be part of what you're going to turn in, this PDF with all of these files. And another part of what you're going to turn in, let's see, is going to be at the end, you return in your final PDF as well as a zipped file of your images. So you're going to turn in this PDF. So go in here, and this is going to be the PDF. And then you're going to go into your links. You're going to select your JPEG folder. You're going to right click on it and compress it, or zip it on a Mac, compress it, and then you are going to turn in this JPEG zipped folder as well. So those two are going to be for the first part. In here, and that is it for the first part. So I'll be providing the next videos for the IMDb video wall, the animation, and the mockups. So thanks again for watching this video. Hopefully it helps. Reach out if you have any questions, and we'll see you in the next one. Let me backtrack a little, going back to the digital assets. I should have done this before, but I'll go ahead and do it now. So let me go ahead and open up this file, and let me do the title treatment. So let me open up the title treatment. So let me go to my links, go to my PSD, and open up the, what is it, 2400 by 390. So 2400 by 390, open this Photoshop file up. And I'm going to open up my original poster. And so for my original poster, I'm going to select my whole title. So I'm going to click anything that affects it. So it's going to be this. And hold Shift and select the title War. And then I'm going to make a group out of it, name it Title, press Return or Enter, and I'm going to drag it into this 2400 by 390. Put it in here. And I have different backgrounds here just to add some contrast so we could see where we're at. So I'm going to turn on the black one. And then with my title, I'm going to press Command or Control T. And I'm going to resize it. Make sure you resize it. Again, your width and your height proportions should be the same, the percentages there. And I want to center it, and I want to make sure I'm maximizing the space here. So I'm trying to maximize the height here. The width, obviously, I'm not going to be able to get it that wide without losing the top. So I want it visible as well. Let me try a 46%. That still works. That's pretty good. I'm going to press Return or Enter to accept that, or click the check mark up in our control panel or in our options bar. And now I'm going to turn off my black background because I do want this as a PNG. So no background transparencies. So I'm going to go to File, Export, Save for Web, and I'm going to make sure it is a PNG 24. And again, I could always preview if I have the two up. I could preview, make sure it looks good, the original versus my new one. And I'm going to go ahead and save it. I'm going to go ahead and save this into my digital assets. So Limon Digital Assets Master Folder, my links, my JPEG, and I'm going to go ahead and save it. And I'm going to go into my InDesign file, click on my 2400 by 390 title treatment master, and I'm going to place it there. So we should already know how to do that. So Command or Control D to place something. Choose the correct one, the PNG. I'm going to open it, right click it, fitting, and then fit content to frame. and that is it. So the reason why we see gray here is because this image frame has gray. So if I was to choose, any other color, it's gonna show me the background. If I choose no background, none, this image is transparent, so you could see wherever I place it, it's not showing anything behind. So that's the one that goes in as a PNG, and then this one should be fairly the same again as that one. So now I could save it, and once I do this file, save everything, and go ahead and turn it in as a PDF.